Henry and the Forest. Many years ago, a section of the main line was found to be unsafe. Thick, sticky mud would run down the embankment whenever it rained, which made it dangerous for engines to pass, and in the winter there were often landslips, which meant the line had to be closed for some time. The Fat Controller took his best engineers to the site to try and fix the problem. "There's poor drainage here," they said. "If you planted trees, they would firm up the ground and take more water from the soil. That would make the area safe." Henry was sent with a long line of trucks filled with new trees, and with the help of Trevor and Terence, the young trees were hauled into place. Now the saplings have fully grown into broad oaks and tall pines, and the ground near the railway line is secure. There is a signal here. Every time Henry has to stop at it, he likes looking at the wildlife that now lives in the woods. Henry is very proud of the forest that he helped create. "Come along now, Henry," his driver would say. "I'm sure the passengers like the peace and quiet as much as you, but the signal's dropped and we must clear the line." One night, the engines were resting in the shed when the sound of a storm gradually rose outside. Percy was frightened. "What's that strange whistling sound?" he wailed. "Don't worry, Percy, it's just the wind blowing through the holes in the shed," replied Toby. "I've never heard it as loud as this before, though," added Thomas. "Do you know what?" said James. "If Gordon wasn't here now, I'd think that was him racing by with the express." All the engines laughed, except Henry. He was worried about the damage the storm would do. The next morning the fierce winds had dropped, so the Fat Controller sent Donald and Douglas out early to patrol the line. They were to check for any fallen trees or damaged telephone wires. Henry's driver walked up to him. "We're to help the twins with some trees which have fallen on the line," he said. "We must clear the track. I'm afraid it sounds like some damage has been done to the forest near that signal you like." When Henry got to the signal, he was horrified. Trees lay everywhere, and the hillside now looked so bare. "What a shame!" cried Henry. Workmen came with saws to cut up the fallen trees, which were loaded onto Henry's flatbeds by a crane. Henry took the wood to the junction where Toby was waiting. "I'm sorry to hear about the forest, Henry," said Toby. "Driver spoke to the foreman in the sawmill. He said they'll be able to make some furniture, amongst other things, with the wood, so at least it won't be wasted." Henry agreed, but he still felt miserable. After the storm, the skies were clear and silent. Toby normally loved peaceful days like this, but he was upset about his friend. When he got to the sawmill, the Fat Controller was there with the foreman. "Good morning, Toby. You do look glum." "Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. I'm worried about Henry. He's really sad that the forest he helped build has been destroyed." "We'll soon settle that," laughed the Fat Controller. There is a fir tree plantation near the top station on Thomas's branch line. The Fat Controller explained that he had bought some new trees to replant the forest. "Please go and collect them, Toby, but let's keep it a surprise for Henry, shall we?" "Thank you, sir," beamed Toby. When Toby got to the plantation, he was delighted to find a row of trucks filled with splendid young trees waiting for him. "These will make sure the line is safe again," said a workman. "And cheer up, Henry," thought Toby. Toby dropped off the trees where the workman, Trevor and Terence promised to plant the trees carefully. The next morning, Toby was arranging his morning quarryman's train when Henry puffed into the junction with the Limited. "Morning, Henry. Have you seen it yet?" squeaked Toby. But before Henry could reply, Toby's signal dropped and he scurried away. Henry puffed along the line gloomily until he stopped at the signal near the forest. He couldn't believe his eyes. The hillside now looks better than ever before. The land is firm and safe from slipping. The trees are growing strong and tall, and the animals are returning. Henry always likes stopping at his signal in the forest, and often his passengers do too.